Going on, world? DS1 Ross, and I'm back. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody who support me and this platform, SHEEPSTAYSLEEPTV. It's very much appreciated. Much love. We're back here with another episode of Real Spill. Real Spill, y'all. Episode 8, Real Spill, with my man Wolf and Beta's close. He will be up here in a couple of minutes. I appreciate y'all patience. I know I'm a little tardy. You know, I had some last minute running out to do, but I appreciate it. Much love to y'all, man. Much love to y'all. We gonna get it in. Let me set these things up that I need to set up real quick. If you tuned in right now, do me a favor, smash the like button and press the number 1 in the chat room. Press 1 in the chat room to let me know you're here. So that's 2 things I'm gonna need from y'all. Hit the like button, hit the number 1 in the chat room if you tuned in. Also, if you have the community tab, share the show. Share the show. Share the show, y'all. I'm gonna give y'all a minute to come through before I bring Wolf on. And we gonna have this dope conversation, man. Also, if you would like to be a guest on Real Spill, you know, on the next episode or whatever episode I'm up to, but if you would like to be a guest, just email me, dsalliance1@gmail.com. That's dsalliance1, the number 1, at gmail.com. And just drop me an email and we'll figure out the specifics. We'll set up a date and time and you know, we'll make it do what it do. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. If you haven't yet, check out episode 7, A Real Spill. Had my man Mike Brown come through. My man Mike Blade Brown, comedy. You know, I told him that's his new name, man. Mike Brown Comedy. You know, make sure y'all go check that out. Also, go and check out my man, episode 5 with my man Darren. My man Darren Marion. We had a nice little tech talk. You know, he's a tech guy. You know, so check that one out too. That was a great one too, man. Check out all the episodes 1 through 7. You know, check them all out. You know, let me know what y'all think. You know, and like I said, if you'd like to be a guest, just email me. So I appreciate that. You know, shout out to my man Wolf. I'm about to send him the link real quick because you know I don't want to keep him. I don't want to keep him waiting, man. Okay. Wait for the brother to come through, and we're gonna get this conversation going, man. We're gonna get this conversation going here on this Sunday afternoon. Like I said, if you're here, hit the like button, drop a 1 in the chat room, and also share the show. If you have the community tab, share the show. My brother Wolf is here. What's going on, Wolf?
Hey, what's going on with you, man?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. I appreciate you coming through. Glad I was able to catch you, man. I know I was running late. Feel me?
Oh no, you good.
No doubt, no doubt, man. So um first thing, I want everybody in the chat room or whoever's listening right now, or whoever's gonna listen to the playback, make sure y'all go and y'all subscribe to my man Wolf. His content is lethal. Like lethal. Like you want to hear some real thought provoking, heartfelt shit, listen to my brother Wolf, man. So make sure y'all go over there, y'all subscribe, y'all show him some love, and check out his content, man, because he got real content, original content. So my first question, Wolf, we gonna start this off. My first question to you, bro, is what brought you to YouTube?
Well, that came about a long way. I've been on YouTube for about 4 or 5 years, something like that, maybe more. But I was in a relationship where I was having difficulties understanding what was going on. And also, I was going through turmoil at the time uh, with dealing with PTSD because I was in the military. So I didn't have many outlets because I'm in a state where I have no family. So I had to create a space for me. And in order to do so, I had to find new knowledge because what I already understood wasn't working. Um, so to make sense of the reality that I was going through, I had to search out new tools in order to navigate myself out of that situation. And through that, I searched on the internet for certain experiences that I was going through. And that's how I came across YouTube. I was introduced to the manosphere by way of Sandman, and then I got introduced to the Black manosphere by way of Black Ram. So that's how I ended up here. Um, and then I had a lot of input on things that were not talked about uh, or that weren't elaborated on because I had spent so much time researching and cultivating a new reality, a new perception of reality, uh, that I saw things totally different. So in that, uh, I began to make my own content that was different similar but different from the things that I've been hearing. So that's how I'm here.
Man, that's interesting, bro, because that's kind of like you said you started off listening to Sandman. Now, one of my homeboys who I don't know if he still considers himself MGTOW. He may do, he may not, but um that's how he got introduced into this information, and he went through the same process as you. You know, he was struggling in a relationship. He felt like he was lost. He didn't know who he was. So he started listening to MGTOW. He started listening to Sandman. And, initially when I listened to Sandman, I was like, yo, this dude was dropping some real spill,
Right.
and then from there, he went further into the whole MGTOW thing. So do at this point, do you consider yourself uh MGTOW, Ibmore, SYSBM? Do you put any of those labels on yourself?
Um, No, I don't actually. At one point in time, I consider myself MGTOW. It's almost like one of those things where I'll put it this way. It's almost like when you used to go to church as a kid. Like you felt that there was something right about it, but there was something wrong about it at the same time. And that's kind of how I feel about, the situation between all the other subsections of the manosphere. I don't wholly align or identify with either one of them because my lifestyle is my own. Because it's not due to, I guess you can say, differences so much. It's just due to I walk a different path than anyone else. Though we may share like minded ideas and we may have disagreements, my path is my own. So for me to include myself under a banner that has an ideological rhetoric behind it would be counterproductive to my direction, because I believe that I'm more than a label or a title. I believe I am a dynamic man. So in that sense, while I can relate to many of the groups, I don't subscribe to be under any of the banners.
Right, right. And I agree. And I'm hearing a lot of brothers say that too. You know, like they don't want to be confined to a label, and it makes sense because when you label yourself something, um, there's a certain connotation or a certain reputation that comes behind that, and sometimes people really don't understand what you may say you represent, so they may look at you and have the wrong perception of you initially
Right.
because they really don't understand your ideology or what you represent. So it's smart for you not to even put yourself in that predicament. So I understand that. That's dope. Um, when I watched one of your first videos, I noticed you said you was a military guy. So what branch of the military and how long you was in the military?
I was in the army for about 9.5 years roughly. Um, and I've been all over the place. I've done a lot of stuff. But uh, that's what I did for all of my career. You know, there are some people that actually, join the army for a few years and then join the Navy or something like that. Nope, I did all mines in the army.
Mm, that's interesting. Now, when um are you still currently active or are you good?
Oh no, I actually got up on a medical separation, and that
Mm,
was due to the PTSD stuff like that. And that's where I left it. I mean, as much as I love the military, I
hmm
couldn't function in it in the way it existed. I mean, it's no different than it seems like I go through these tiers throughout life where I subscribe to a hard direction of something, and then I start to realize that it doesn't fully align with who I am, and that's what the military became. I mean, because the more I gained in rank and understanding, the more I seen that it wasn't necessarily uh, talking to all the points of who I am. So that's where I left it. I got out in about 2013, and I've been a veteran since.
So coming out of the military, um how difficult was it is to adjust being a to just being around, like almost not being a civilian, because you'll never really be a civilian again. But
Right.
how does it feel to be amongst the civilians and not on duty? Like how did that make you feel coming out? Like did you have to reacclimate yourself to being around people, stuff like that?
Most definitely. I definitely had to reacclimate myself. I'm still I think it's almost like it's almost like being an alcoholic. You're always an alcoholic, no matter how much you rehabilitate it. And that's kind of how I feel about the military, due to the fact that it had such a overall encompassing structure that took over majority of the aspects of your life. I mean, even your personal relationships, the military governed over them in some way, shape, or form. Um, so it's always a recovery stage for me when it comes to, and I'm not saying it like it's a recovery stage like the military is bad, but so much so that uh, there is a clear distinction that I would never be the same due to the fact of being in the military, good or bad. So reacclimation is an ongoing process, and it'll continue to be for the rest of my life. Um, it's very interesting to go through. I can tell you that because it, you I'll give you an example. Just little small things. Like I've been deployed a few times where we didn't have access to what was going on in the world. And when I came back to the United States, I got reintroduced to all these things that were new to me, but people had been had access to for some time. And even still to this day, I run across things, and this was many years ago. I run across things like, wow, that happened. I had no idea. It's like you're in a time capsule when you're gone away. So it's always going to be gaps due to the fact I've missed a few years of my life that everybody else uh, had the ability to experience. So it's always going to be a reacclimation process going on, even when dealing with uh, the social aspects of dealing with other people, uh, getting a job and paying these bills here and there, and having a. I honestly, I have a anxiety behind moving places a lot because the military, though the military did move you around a lot, it was you did a mission, then you came back to where your home base was. Uh, when you're out in the civilian world, you don't really have a home base. No such thing as this. You don't have a group of people that you can depend on um, through thick and thin. Though we all have family, we all have close friends. They have their own situations go that they have to go through too. So there is no governing structure to delegate anyone to you in times of hardship. Whereas the military, there is, and happening to come to the realization that that no longer exists is always something that gives me a small bit of anxiety, and I think that'll be true for the rest of my life. So the reacclimation process is everything from all the aspects that you can think of in life. Uh, you have to reacclimate to when it comes to civilian world, and that honestly that could take more than a lifetime. Just to be straight up with you.
Wow, man. Wow. Wow. That's interesting because when I listen to how you speak on, being in relationships with women, do you think that you have an anxiety with moving different places? Does that kind of play out in your relationships? Because, you know, with you being so used to being stationed somewhere, does being in relationships, do you have a problem with feeling secure because of, all of the other things that you have to reacclimate yourself to coming out of the military? Do you think that will play into you dealing with your significant other, or just women in general when it comes to being in relationships? Because you may have a woman that like to travel, and being that gives you anxiety because, like you said, out in the free world, there is nobody governing everything you're doing. And I know for you having to get used to that, it's kind of like you putting yourself out there, like you're taking a risk. So how do you think that will play out in your relationships with women? Because I listen to how you talk about women and how much, the way you really see them and the way you really would like them to be. So do you think that that's going to play out in your relationship?
Uh, Most definitely, it plays out. But once again, this isn't a black and white situation that I'm going to explain. Uh, there are good aspects and there are bad aspects. This is just uh, uh, seen through a different lens that most women wouldn't be privy to, or they wouldn't have to deal with. I mean, because the U.S. population, out of it, only 1 to 2% actually go through the military. So having to deal with a man who has once been through the military, um, and now you're in a relationship, could be completely different than any other thing that you have done in any past relationships that you've had as a woman. So most definitely, it's going to be completely different although at the same time, it's not going to be different in so much a way that it's just uh, off-putting. It wouldn't be uh, an automatic no to everything or automatic disagreement to everything. It's just a different way to actually uh, have an experience with a man. But from my point of view, most definitely it has a different uh, flavor to it, I guess you will, if you will. I mean, because you really can't go through the military, especially being deployed, and come out unscathed. Uh, and this once again goes back to the good and bad of the situation because it just is what it is. So to be a military man or a veteran rather and deal with a woman, I still have pieces missing. You know, there were some things that I just didn't get to do or experience through my life because the military either sheltered me from it or it kept me away from it in some way, shape, or form. I mean, because yes, in the military, you can do a lot of things as an adult, but you have to be cautious about what you do because the military is very strict on the reflection that it gives to them based on your behavior. So you have to be cautious in the thing. I couldn't be reckless. I couldn't be irresponsible. I mean, I could, but I would pay consequences. And, if the consequences are avoidable, who wants to go through that? So there were lessons that I didn't get to learn. And it's just like any other situation. Sometimes you're just going to have to go through things and experience things in order to grow. And you're going to have to make mistakes. But due to the regulations and rules of the military they put in place, there were mistakes that I'm sure I missed that I should have made that I didn't. So there are lessons that I don't have behind those things. Uh, so this definitely plays out in a relationship with a woman uh, because I talk on one of my videos. Actually, I have two pages: Wolf and Alpha Attire and Wolf and Beta Clothes, and I give descriptions of why I made the separate pages. But on the Wolf and Alpha Attire page, I give a description of. It's actually my first video. It's the married chicken, the wolf, the girl who cried wolf. And in that story, I tell of a woman that I used to be friends with who actually claimed to be raped. And I go through the situation to, further explain that never actually happened. And she just used this man to get out the military. And because of that experience, it shaped the way that I view women in the military. So I didn't deal with those I didn't deal with any military women my whole career. Now, mind you, uh, when you're moving around in places, these are usually the only women that you have direct access to, unless you go out to a club or something like that, or you're out on the town. But the military base has everything that you need on it, so you never really have to leave the base. So if you never leave the base, 90% of the women that you run into are going to be in the military. And due to me, and like I said, this has so many layers to it. That's the thing; it has so many layers to it. Due to me being in the military for so long, I knew that it was easy to get in trouble. And once again, it goes back to not wanting to get into a situation that was completely avoidable. So not only did I avoid intermingling uh, with I guess you can say the local people outside of the base because of all the mishaps you can get into. I didn't deal with military women as well. So my experiences with women were very capsulated. I wouldn't say that they were limited, but they were very capsulated. I only dealt with a certain kind of woman uh, who met the criteria to limit the amount of liability that I would have to experience with dealing with her while being in the military. So once again, that goes back to not being a fool will make you a more of a fool when it comes later down the road. So there are things that I definitely didn't get to experience. So I don't have a jaded view of women. I just have a view of as they come as they are, um, and that's pretty much. how I deal with women these days. They come as they are, and if they match the criteria that I'm looking for when it comes to the adjustments that I make in life, so be it.
Right, right. Man, that's deep, man, because now I see what you mean by, it's a gift and a curse because, you know, being sheltered could be a gift, but it also could be a curse because it blocks you off from you seeing and experiencing what the world really is about. You know,
Right,
um, Michael Jackson, he sheltered his children. You know, he even built a school so they could only go to school in the school. And
right,
when I was young and I saw that, I'm like, damn, I wish I had enough money to do that. I would do that myself. But then I thought about it. I said, why would I do that? Because what I'm doing is I'm I'm basically I'm curtailing what my children's experiences with people would be.
right.
And that's not, that's not healthy because look how socially awkward Mike was. That was
Yep,
because of him being sheltered.
yep,
So I totally understand, man. Sometimes protection could become like especially for dads, protection could become you could become kind of narcissistic when you're in a certain position of authority sometimes, especially when you're a parent and you could be so, you know, honed in on trying to protect your children, but what you're actually doing is you're hindering them in some way.
right,
And what'll happen is when they come out in the world, because you can't hide them from the world forever, they're gonna come out in the world one day. And what'll happen is they'll find out that they have to navigate through the world and figure things out on their own now because they're grown and they're afraid to go back to that parent who kept them away from the world.
right.
So a lot of people can become rebels and stuff like that too. So I totally get what you're saying, man. Like I see what you're saying when you say you miss certain things. There was certain experiences that you may feel like you were supposed to have in order to understand um, what it is. But being sheltered also protected you because you don't have a jaded view of women.
Right.
So I totally feel what you're saying, man. So what um what made you name yourself what you named yourself? Is that because that seems very militant to me? Wolf in Alpha's attire or Wolf in Beta's clothes. That's to me, that's some real militant, manly type of shit. So how you come up with that?
Well, I'll tell you a brief story that I really don't tell a lot of people, and it's not because it's a secret, it's just because I never had that talk with anyone.
Right.
But I had a dream a long time ago when I was younger, and it was a dream about the end of the world. And in this dream, I was standing on some familiar corners that I grew up on, and there were calamities happening all around me. I mean, the ground was caving in. There were giant scorpions coming out of the ground. There were uh, meteors coming through the sky. There was people running around and being eaten by monsters and all this crazy stuff. So I ran down the block, and down the block there was this. Uh, it was an old radio station that had a tower still up, and there was this huge tree next to it. And that tree, when I was looking at it in my dream, it turned into a dragon, and it had like three heads, and it was golden. It was crazy. And then I wake up, uh, and once again, I'm the type of person, I like to understand what's going on. So I started researching stuff, and I would have that reoccurring dream all the time. And another thing about it is when I got close to the dragon, there was a kind of peace going on around it. Like everything else was burning, it was on fire, and there was like this aura around this beast, and things were growing, and the rays were bouncing off of it and was shining. It was crazy. But I come to learn that that was supposed to be what's called a spirit animal. It's supposed to come to you in your dream, and it's supposed to represent uh, who you are as a person, and what you represent to some degree. A lot of people don't believe in it. I didn't really. I still kind of don't believe in it, but it was such a reoccurring dream, and I felt comforted by being around that beast for whatever reason. But uh, later on, I would stop having that dream, and the dream manifested into something else. Uh, it manifested into a wolf, uh, because it was a calamity dream again, except for this time I was I was the beast, and I was the one that was defending what was going on, stopping what was going on from happening. And I was pretty large, and um, I was uh, very ferocious, and I looked out for people. It was a crazy dream because these are things obviously I had never done in my actual life. When it comes, I mean, in some degree, I've defended people and took care of people, but not when it came to end of the world calamities, because that's never happened, of course. Um, and this is still a reoccurring dream for me now. So um, how I move is definitely akin to that, because the wolf for me represents the raw nature, and it represents the raw nature of most every facet of life to me. Uh, because wolves, they hunt together, they die alone. Um, if they don't hunt together, a lot of times, and they have a very structured lifestyle. They're very communicative. They communicate a lot. Uh, they have their disagreements, but they understand how to resolve them. There are so many aspects of it, but it's all natural. It's all nature. So when I apply it to my life, that's how I've been. I mean, because I grew up in a city where you had to behave a certain way in order to get by, but I didn't align with that behavior. Once again, my nature was more raw than the nature of the people that were around me and that I grew up with. So I had to appear to be different, or appear to be, yeah, to be different than what I was. So this is where I get the connotations of the wolf in alpha attire and the wolf in beta clothes, because these are garments or personas that I have to wear in order to hide the nature that I truly am. I wouldn't say hide it in a manipulative way, in a malicious way, but rather so that I blend in with the populace, because I understand that I'm very different. I'm not like anybody else that I've met for the most part. I've met a few people like me, but it's rare. Um, and they go through the same struggles as well, where they have to uh, adhere to the social expectations of their environment in order to survive, in order to make their way through this world. So they have to dawn on a personification that is not truly them. And some people might view this as being malicious, yet and still, do we view the wolf as being malicious? Not really. The wolf is just living the way it does. But if you let a wolf loose in the inner city limits, people are shutting down blocks. People are you're calling in the police and the local humane society, or I mean, the local wildlife uh, people. I mean, you're calling in all these resources to deal with this natural occurring beast in a civilized world. So, in that aspect, that's where I got my name from. I created it myself.
Man, I knew, I knew it was something deep behind that, man. And based off what you said, man, isn't that shit kind of depressing though? Being that you always have to put put this mask on. You have to, you have to go out in public and, like you said, just basically go along to get along. Isn't that depressing?
Um, it used to be. It used to be when I was younger. It used to be. I mean, because I was always looked at differently in my environment. I understood. People understood that I was different before I understood that I was different, and due to that, I was treated differently, and I didn't understand why. It never dawned on me that I was just different. Like this isn't something that I I placed on myself. This is something that was placed on me. Um, Now, one would say we all define ourselves, but in relation to what? That's the way I look at it. So to some degree, you have to be in relation to something in order to define yourself. So that relation has a governing effect over how you define yourself. Um, and I had to learn that at a young age that I had to uh, understand that my environment, well, the people around me were defining me differently than what I saw myself as. I saw myself as normal. I didn't think that there was anything strange about me, or there was anything out of place about me. I thought I fit in. I thought I was part of the ecosystem, but I wasn't. Um, and it's not to say that my nature is so wild it can't exist in civilization. I actually see it the other way around. Um, my nature is wild, uh, but the civilization is wilder. Um, so to some degree, the environment I grew up in was wilder. So I had to put on uh, a certain personification in order to survive there. Um, but if I brought my true nature out, most people couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle what's commonly known today as the black pill mentality. Uh, I was very pragmatic about the way that I saw life. It just is what it is with me, and I realized at a young age that you can't tell people the truth that often. They won't like you. Not to say that I didn't tell people the truth, but it goes with the other saying. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I just adopted that to a lot of the aspects that I went through in my life. Not saying that I didn't have anything nice to say, but I kept my opinions to myself a lot of times. And that's how I ended up here on YouTube because I went through my damn near my entire life suppressing who I naturally was. Um, and I understood what I was, but other people didn't see what I was because I was so good at uh, understanding their nature and becoming what they are, and so in so many words that they never they just saw me as just another one of the guys, or this is a good friend of mine. Not saying that I wasn't, but if they only knew uh, to what degree my nature was and its difference, I don't believe that they would view me the same. Which is totally fine with me. I believe that we all go through this at some point in our lives where I like to say that there are five versions of yourself. Um, there's the there's the person who you are out in public. There's the person who you are with your friends. There's the person who you are with your family. There's the person who you are with your significant other and children. And there's the person who you are by yourself. And through that, I like to look at it like a bullseye. The center being yourself and the outer portions being the public. There's only certain levels of information that you give to people respective to their classification within those five things. So this all plays into who understands you in depthly and who just understands you superficially. And this is the wolf. I believe everybody has this. And this is the wolf. This is your natural nature. The core version of who you are by yourself is who you are. Uh, and you do don uh, social adherence depending on how far you are from the center. So It's just something that you have to go through life accepting and understanding. Uh, and it does become depressing at some point. I mean, I hear it in people's voices all the time. I wish I could just meet somebody that understood me, right? Um, so I believe we all go through it. I just happen to be the one to put an actual face to it, I guess.
Right, right. I understand what you're saying. It's like it's almost like the the wolf knows his nature, but you know, civilians don't understand the wolf's nature. So it's almost like, you know, let's demonize what we don't understand.
All right.
So I understand what you're saying. You pretty much have learned how to deal with it. Like I just know that, you know, I know the real me, and nobody will really find that. Nobody will really be able to know the real you but you. And only a certain few may ever get a chance to experience some parts of the real you.
Right.
Right. So I get it. That's ill, man. That's some ill shit because if we really if we really acted out of our nature and not based on social constructs and stuff like that, this shit will be chaos.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
would.
Yeah. Most definitely.
It'll be like that dream you had.
Yep. Yep.
So I get what you're saying, bro. I like this conversation. So um another thing, man. Let's just go ahead and get this out the way, dog. The old classic, the old classic video you put out, man, about we're just gonna call her the manosphere catfish. Um um you said in your video that this is what you specialize in. Now that that stood out to me because when I think of a wolf, because I love wolves, but when I think of a wolf, that is that's what makes them um great hunters, great predatorial animals because they're very analytical, they're very patient, and they're very kind of like aloof. Like you cannot see how a wolf is feeling. So you'll never know when it'll pop out on you. Is So when you said that in the video, man, that shit stood out to me. And what what made you say, well, I have to do this? Was it just because, what you said in the video, or did it what else kind of contributed to you putting it out? Or did you just put it all in the video?
Well, I actually spelled some of it out uh, on my page, the Wolf and Alpha attire. Uh, the video quality is kind of shitty on some of them because I don't have the equipment. I got the voice, got the points. Don't have the technology so far, so much so far. I'm working on it though, um, but I'll give a brief understanding of that. The reason why, well, I'll start with this. I grew up in Detroit, and the people there really don't talk. Stuff will pop off really quick, and you won't understand what's going on. I learned that at a young age, So through that, I had to learn how to read the environment and read the people around me because they didn't talk. So it was mostly body language, and it was small clues, small hints that let you know, up, I need to get out of here because something's about to go down. It was almost like the storm coming and your bones start aching type of thing. Uh, from previous traumas. So it was experience that gave you the ability to forecast what was going on. And that's pretty much what I did in Detroit in order to survive. Then I went into the military and I did military intelligence. and part of my job was counterintelligence at the time. So once again, I had to use those very tools that I already had growing up to apply them to a military standard. Not only did I have the street smart version of it, I had the militant version of it at that point when I made this video. And then I further went on to college and I completed plenty of classes in psychology. So I understand, from top to bottom, the psychology and the aspects that make people move, um, that make people tick. I understand these things. Um, I understand because I understand these things. I understand that I have a reason for knowing these things. This just wasn't all a coincidence. I mean, the job that I picked, I was like, for the military. I was like, that sounds good. Had no clue what the job entailed fully, and it just so happened to be exactly what I did most of my life, anyways. Read people. So when I notice things that are different from a person's behavior and what they talk about, that perks up to me. That makes my ears stand up. That makes me um, hyper vigilant towards it. And the strangest thing about it is these people are drawn to me for some reason. I don't know why they're drawn to me. Like they want me to sacrifice them to the world for whatever reason. It's kind of like the serial killer that wants to be caught type of thing. They're just looking for the right detective to figure them out. So these people come to me and they want me to fix their lives in some way, shape, or form, and absolve them of uh, the responsibility to fix it themselves. Um, so that's what I've done. That's what I do. Uh, I read people and I tell them what direction they need to go in, and then I do my other side of it. Make my little notes, and then I keep it moving. But the reason why I did it is because she was beguiling a lot of people. She was hurting a lot of people. She was causing chaos and drama. That's one thing I can't stand. Even though my nature is nature, and nature has a very broad balance, and civilization even broader, there was too much disturbance and distraction from what the direction of the group of people who I align with were trying to go in. So when I see things that are out of order, uh, it it almost sets me in a duty state to figure out what's going on and how to resolve that issue. Uh, and plus, I do it for fun. That's is the hunting is fun for me.
But yeah, man, and I salute you for that, man. Because that was a very righteous and honorable thing, man. And that, I really respect that, because a lot of people would just act like, well, eh, eh, she ain't do it to me, they take that approach,
Yeah.
and I'm the type of person that look at it like this: she didn't get me yet,
Hmm.
it's not my turn yet,
Yeah.
that's how I look at it, though. Some people would just be like, oh, it ain't gonna happen to me until it happens, you know
Exactly.
because you cause the domino effect, man. I end up doing my video, and then like 3 or 4 other people did streams about this.
Yeah.
So she's hurt a lot of, she's hurt a lot of people, man. Like you said, she has. And I think that is something, and this is something that I always speak about, when it comes to brotherhood. Um, who's going to protect the fort?
Yeah.
When the fort is under attack, who are the guardians? Who are going to be the ones to uphold the code when we're being attacked? Or is everybody just going to run for cover?
Yeah.
And and I saw that you were the guy that stood there, and you protected the fort the way you knew how. and that's honorable, bro. And a lot of people thank me for my stream and just bringing it out, man. But that was some real shit. That what you did, man. That's real. That showed me that you're a brother. You know how to be a brother to other men because you're willing to protect them. You
Yeah,
know,
most definitely.
you know what I'm saying, and a lot of people feel like it's not their job, even though they'll call you their brother, but they'll choose not to protect you, or they'll choose to to run game on you.
Yeah.
Man. So I totally salute you on that, man. So
Well, thank you.
another I got like two more questions, bro. My
Sure.
next question is what are your hobbies? Do you have hobbies? Like, do you draw? Like, what are some of your hobbies?
Um, my hobbies. I tend to plant sometimes. I have
Mm.
bonsai plants that I cultivate over very long periods of time. Uh, and uh, I play with my dogs. I play with my dogs. That's pretty much what I do. You know,
Oh, you have a kennel.
uh, no, no, no. I only have two dogs.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay, okay.
yeah. I play with my dogs and I tend to my plants and I read, um, I research. Um, I like to hear other people's opinions uh, because one of my things is I think the key to knowing yourself is to listen to others. And the reason why I say a lot of people don't understand when I say that, because I firmly believe in the laws of relativity. Uh, that things are only relative to each other because they exist in the same space. Um, and through that relativity, you understand that there's a difference, and that's how you define things. Without relativity, without relation, there is no definitive name or understanding for any one thing. Without night, there is no day, and vice versa.
Mm,
Without yin, there is no yang. So it applies as well to humans. It applies to how we see each other. The more you can understand about a person, the more you can understand that either you don't agree or you do agree. And through that, you have a newfound understanding of yourself because you weren't challenged before on that front. It's no different than being introduced into a different culture. You start to understand that their culture is so different that you want to go back and look at your own and see, hey, this is kind of the same or this is different, and you start to learn more through that. So I believe the relation to others is very important. So I like to listen to uh, people's opinions and understand who they are as a person because once again, that aligns with what I've done for most of my life. Uh, Most of my life has not been hunting people. A good portion of my life has been understanding people. It, and through that, the truth comes out. But the core of it is understanding of myself and my environment. So that's what I do in my spare time. I engage with others in their thoughts. I engage um, with others in their understandings. Um, I read and I pretty much stay to myself.
man, 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 bro. I thought, I thought brothers who felt like that, you know, um, because I kind of feel like that too. Like I don't really like to be I don't really like to be around bullshit, bro.
Yeah,
Like, and I spot it really fast, and my adrenaline starts to pump. And
Yeah.
I like you. I'm stuttering now just talking about it because I don't like that. It doesn't sit well with me.
Hmm.
And I know about what I'm noticing, what I'm learning about myself is I'm learning that, and this may sound some real black pill type of shit, but I'm learning that I am a lot more chaotic than I was raised to be. Like within myself, the way I feel when certain things happen and the things I vision doing and stuff like that is totally separate from how I was raised to be,
Right.
and I guess because I'm still young, it kind of bothers me because a lot of times I just want to live the way you said you live.
Mm.
I just want to be tucked off somewhere. Like even where me and my family live now, we live like off of a highway. Like we don't live in city limits where everybody's walking and
Hmm.
and it's because I like a sense of solitude. Like I need that.
Right.
I need it for my sanity, and how important do you feel um mental health is for us black men? Like how important do you feel that is for us? Do you feel like it's um do you feel like it's something that we really need to focus on more as being black men? Because going through what we go through when we grow up and stuff like that, a lot of things we don't see play out in our life until we get older, and we don't understand why things are the way they are.
Right.
So how important do you think mental health is for us black men?
I think it's very important. The common understanding is, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and mental health is knowledge. I mean, because well, going through understanding your mental health is knowledge, because this is part of who you are. This is there's no person on earth that doesn't experience any trauma. Um, this goes back to uh, the lessons that you're supposed to learn when you go through trauma. And what's happening, to a lot of black men is we go through trauma and we're conditioned to just shove it off and not understand what happened or what the recourse is for such. So I think it's very important that we get in touch with what our mental health status is. I've talked to professionals myself several times, and through that, and it wasn't even to be honest with you, it wasn't even so much so for the fact that I needed their services. I talked to them just to touch bases on things that I may be missing, and come to find out that I had it all figured out. But that may not be the case for a lot of men out there. You may think you have it all figured out, but you're missing a large portion. I mean, I think that's why we're here. I think that's why we are existing here online, um, because we don't have that physical manifestation of camaraderie in the real world, uh, because the environment doesn't allow it. I mean, how many times have you seen people get uneasy about a group of black men in the same vicinity? They if we're moving, let's just say there are 30 black men, you know, um, just scattered about a fair, let's say a fair or something like that. And these black men start coalescing together, people will start getting uneasy about that. They wouldn't get uneasy about a group of women coalescing together. They wouldn't get uneasy about a group of Asians coalescing together or any other race or sex. It's normally black men. Um, so that tells you that the environment knows something that we don't know. And I think the way through that understanding of figuring what it is figuring out what your mental health status is. I mean, because you got to get yourself together first before you can become a part of the pack. You got to figure out what's going on with you and understand that you are an imperfect being and that you have went through some sort of trauma throughout your lifetime, especially being a black man. So I definitely advise people that they should, go in and get checked, and because there's some things that you may think is normal behavior, um, really isn't normal behavior. Um, we have a lot of cognitive dissonance going on in the black community, where we have the ideological sense of white supremacy, yet at the same time we complain to be, black people first. Those two things are diametrically opposed. You can't, and that's what creates chaos. That's what when you have two things that are not yoked equally, that's when you have chaos. That's when you have disorder, and that's exactly what's playing out in our communities. So I think it's very important for black men to check up on themselves. I mean, we all we got. We all we got. You can't put somebody else mask on in the airplane that's going down before you put your own on. You know, got to check on yourself first. Make sure you good. So that's the way I see it.
Man, I totally agree. I totally agree. And also, brothers, we want to keep a check on ourselves all the time. And we can't, I always say this, self-check, because
Yep.
you don't want to let your problems bleed over onto other brothers too. You know,
Yep.
one thing that I require when I'm amongst other men is self-control. I don't like no dudes around me acting crazy.
Yep.
Like if you drunk and can't hold your liquor and you riffing and rah-rahing off and all of that, we gotta go,
Yep.
because I can already sense that that's gonna lead to a problem that we're all gonna get involved with, because one of our wolves or one of our brothers is out of control.
Yep.
And we can't let our dysfunction affect the whole pack.
Yep.
And that's what I think is going on. And I see it played out all the time right here on YouTube.
Yep.
I see it all the time, man. And that's why the motto for my channel is heal before we build.
Yep.
Because I believe every individual person has to go through their own healing process, their own healing journey, before we can come together for real and create what we need to create for something that's going to last.
Yep.
Now, of course, we can always come together and do business and all of that without none of that stuff. But if we talking about real unity, real solidarity, and all of that stuff, we're gonna have to individually, you know, um, shed ourselves of certain traumas, man, and get out of our own way. Because if
Yep.
I'm in my own way, but you're there, why wouldn't I put you in front of me?
Yep.
And most people don't think like that because they don't, like you said, a lot of people have cognitive dissonance, and they believe that everything, because we were taught to think in a compartmentalized way. So we think everything is a separate thing until we actually start to understand, man, that we dealing with a puzzle. We
Yep.
just gotta put the pieces together.
Yep. Yep.
But like you
And
said,
that's
everything is all relative, you know?
yeah. And that's the thing of it. Uh, we like to see ourselves as so much so to be individuals, but that goes back to my whole analogy about the group of black men. Uh, Here's one thing that I know for certain is that when people get uncomfortable, it's usually because they're guilty of something or they're afraid of something. Those are one of the two driving forces when it comes to why people do what they do. What they do, they do it because they're guilty of something or they're afraid of something. Um, Not saying that people can't do things out of happiness, out of anger, etc. But if you look at the reactionary things that people do, that's normally the case. Uh, but going back to the group of black men, they understand something that we don't understand collectively. Because no matter where you go, especially here in the United States, a group of black men is always seen as a threat, and nobody ever stops to understand why is that. Why is that? Is it because the major group has painted this narrative that we're savages, or that we are uh, you know people who are uncivilized? Or could it be true that they understand that a group of black men is a force to be reckoned with? And I think the latter is more of the truth, um, because if you notice, even within our own community, our women are afraid of that. Our women are afraid of that, and we've already figured out that a lot of our women are aligned with the wrong side of the fence. Uh, so when people react to a group of black men doing something, just understand that that's probably the direction, or even you as an individual man doing something. If you don't see any wrong and harm in what you're doing, and people are just flipping out and asking you all these questions of why you're doing this, and just understand that you're probably on the right path, because it goes against the narrative to keep you weak. That's what it speaks to. And I oftentimes look at there. I like to believe that there's two sides to every coin. Every coin, meaning that there are consequences and there are unintended consequences to everything. There are going to things be things that you did not account for. It goes back to the night and day scenario. So if it's true uh, that black men are feared, and the narrative is painted that it's because we're uncivilized, could it also be true that that narrative is wrong, and that we are the actual threat to what they believe their civilized version is? I mean, I look at things so in depth. I look at things so broadly, but I know how to refine the thought. Um, I just think that if we individually took care of ourselves, then we would all come to the same conclusion. That's what I believe is happening in the Black manosphere. That we are piecing out, we're stringing out all this crap out of our hair, and now everything is becoming straight and defined, and we're all standing at the same level. That's what it's coming to. So I employ all the men. If you have something to say, if you have a thought to add, if you have some content that you're not sure about putting out, put it out there. Put it out there. That could be the piece of the puzzle that we need to solve this thing.
Mm, got you, bro. Totally got you, man. So definitely appreciate your time, bro. Um,
Most definitely.
you know, and vice versa, man. If you would like me to come over to your platform, I'm always open to it. You got my email. You could just hit me up, and I'ma definitely keep in touch with you and touch bases with you, man, because you know, I I just like to have these types of introspective conversations, man, because right now, man, you got me just thinking about a lot of different stuff, you know. So we definitely gotta do this again, man. And I appreciate you coming through, bro.
Most definitely. Thank you for having me on.
No doubt, man. So shout out to everybody in the chat. Much love to y'all today, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. This was episode 8 of Real Spill with my brother Wolf. Make sure y'all go subscribe. Type your name in the chat or something, bro, so they can go over there and subscribe to your channels.
All right.
Make sure y'all go and subscribe to my brother Wolf. He has 2 channels. That's Wolf and Beta's Clothes and Wolf and Alpha Attire. Check both of those channels out. Great content. And man, trust me, you won't be let down. If you're a thinking black man, if you're a thinking black, You a man that's about progress, yo. This is his content is lethal, man. Lethal. He's definitely gonna have you really thinking, and that's the key, man. To always stay thinking, to always stay with a plan. So I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you again, bro. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 8 of Real Spill with my brother Wolf. I catch y'all on the next one. We out. Peace.